Hello everybody and welcome to a new Dustforce video. It's been quite a while since the last one, but I'm still actively playing this game. It's actually one of the few games I play in my spare time that I have, and it's great because you can just pick it up, play 20 minutes and then call it a day. So I've been over the past months. I was assessing the community map pack, and I want to do a quick or probably longer review. So I think this will be a 3-part series because there's quite a lot of maps. I think actually over 100, and I'll just give you a little bit of my impression, and I will show you my run here. Don't expect any good gameplay for me. I'm a noob, and I'm not a speedrunner, and I usually don't really put much emphasis in improving my time, so most of the runs will will be very poorly. But it was a lot of fun. I think generally the map pack the maps are great in this community map pack. I think the average quality of the map is probably even higher than in the base game, and I also really like the compilation of the maps. I think the selection is absolutely fantastic. There is a whole lot of variety in this map pack, so I think there is something in there for everyone. And I will also give a difficulty rating for each map, because there's also quite a lot of variety in the difficulty, and I will also put a sorted list of the difficulty in the video's description. So if you're interested in that, if you haven't played the community map pack yourself and you want to get into it, I think it's absolutely great. If you like Dustforce, you should absolutely play those maps. And but can be a little bit hard at the start to just figure out which maps to do first, and because the difficulty is all over the place. The maps are sorted alphabetically, and chances are that you will pick a pretty difficult one to start with, which may or may not be what you intended to do. But anyway, if you wanted to see the difficulty, just check the video description. I'll make sure to put it there. So with that being said, I think we should just jump straight up into the first map. I think it's 37 maps now. The map pack is divided by 3. There are the alpha maps, the beta maps, and the gamma maps. And in today's video we'll be discussing the alpha maps. So I think this is 37 levels. So we better get started with Full Moon. This is the first one. Let's see. I actually have already forgotten most of the levels because I haven't played them as much. I think this is really great. If it's a pretty hard map, I would say difficulty rating 7 out of 10. But this one was a lot of fun to actually play. It's reminds a little bit of the normal difficulty levels of the base game, but it just has some nice touches to it. And I think it's because it's not that long. I think this can also be completed without having all the knowledge from the existing difficulty levels. So yeah, very nice start already. We really enjoyed this level. So, next one. Excuse me, I'm a little bit slower today. We have 8 pixel bit hit. I think this one was a little bit awkward because like the start is pretty straightforward, and now this part you can get quite a lot of speed, and if you do, you just bang your wall into the spikes. At least that's what always happened to me. It's possible that players which are a lot better than me, I'm sure that players that are a lot better than me can do this very easily, but for me this was quite challenging. Overall difficulty of 5 out of 7, I would say. Nice map as well, generally. Good. So a lot of these maps have a quite a unique art style, as you probably already noticed, and I think this stays pretty much across the whole map pack, which is great. There are some maps that are absolutely mind-blowing visually. So next we have Abandoned Court. This one is for everyone that loves going fast. And I've actually spent a little bit of time improving my time here. So this is not my first run compared to a lot of other maps. It's very fluid. It's completely set up that for going fast. So yeah, it rewards players that like to go fast. There are ramps everywhere where you can boost, and overall very nice, very much enjoy this. I will say this a lot in these reviews videos, but it's just most of the maps are absolutely fantastic. So that was Abandoned Court. Difficulty was not, it's not too difficult. It's I would say 5 out of 10. And next one we have Abandoned Prison. Oh, this is a long one. Oh no, I don't want to play it. It's early in the morning. Forgive me my mechanical slip-ups. So this is reminding me very much of not Night Temple, Moon Temple. Not only because of the visuals, but also like the way it's playing. There are a lot of like gaps that you have to close, and some weird angles. And this is I think the longest map in a map pack. Don't quote me on that, but this was definitely one of the very longest. And therefore, like for me, long maps are also a little bit a synonym for difficult maps, because I just struggle to be consistent over a longer period of time. So this took me quite a long time to assess. This is a very awkward part that where I had to do a spike jump. I tried actually to avoid that, but it was just, I couldn't make it work. So yeah, a little bit of hiccups there as well. Like you see, this is really unpolished gameplay, but in the end, like it's I got to I got to the SS as well. So this is I think this is the trickiest part of the level, where you have to do this small jump and then get over there, because it's right at the end of the level, and if you fail it, you have to do everything all over again. And this is was a little bit frustrating, but overall, like I think the level design is phenomenal here. There's the gameplay was very varied and great. It's a very difficult map. At least it was for me. Keep in mind that my difficult rating is entirely subjective, so I would give this a 9 out of 10 on the difficulty scale. So next one we have Acropark 2. Let's actually, I will skip Acropark 2 and we'll do Acropark first, because I just by the name I assume that those have been made by the same guy, and I think Acropark, I would assume that Acropark has been on first, and so let's do that first, and we'll do Acropark 2 afterwards. This is one of my absolutely favorite maps in the map pack. It plays great. It has good pacing. The gameplay is very, very varied, and just it's very smooth. I think this, yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. You can see that this map maker has a lot of experience in making maps. At least I think. I have no idea who the map created. So this is the end. Yeah, I think this is it's a relatively easy map. I will give this 5 out of 10 difficulty. Oh, very easy. It's relatively easy. I think this can be done by also people who have not finished the base game. And Acropark 2 is a sequel, and it feels like a sequel. It's great. You don't need anything more out of a good map. If you have a good map, make a sequel. That's awesome. So there is a little bit of cave area here. I think the first one didn't have this. And this is the part which I've struggled a little bit and to figure out where I want to go with this. But overall, it wasn't too hard to figure out, and just detrimental to how well the map is designed. Also, this one is a little bit more difficult. I would say 6 out of 10, and yeah, it's just very smooth, very well crafted gameplay. I love it. Those are two of my very favorite maps from the map pack. Just, yeah, it's great. Next one we have Ashy Beam, and I currently don't remember what this one was. There are a lot of maps. Oh, okay, this is a relatively cool map. You have no points where you can touch any surface, as far as I know. So this is just a complete air control map. It's very short. It's very solid, cool visuals. Great. This is a very easy map. I would say it's 3 out of 10. Also because it's quite short, that that helps a lot. Oh, let's see. This is I struggled a lot with this one, and I will tell you later why. But let's just first go a little bit through it. There are some quite tricky jumps here, where you can easily lose a double jump. At least that's what happened to me all the time. This is a fairly difficult map. I will give this a 7.5 out of 10. And yeah, the reason is there are a lot of situations where you can basically fuck up. Like these small jumps caught me countless times, much more than I'm willing to admit here. So we have some nice dash segments where you have to jump back on the wall, and here we have to go do ceiling run. Reminds a little bit on Ghost Parapets, and this is the part where I always fuck up. There is a lot of dust in the beginning of the ramp, and for some reason in a lot of maps I just can't seem to understand how to get those, and this took me quite a while to actually get around that works. Awareness. This is another absolutely fantastic map, and it's very simple visually, at least at first glance, but as you can see now, we traverse to a little bit of a different color, and each of the colors has its own gameplay features. So every color plays a little bit of different. We are now in the yellow part, and it just works very smooth. The level is very well crafted, and it's visually great. Now we have here the blue section with some waterfalls in the background. It's done in a very unique way, at least to what I know. I don't know many maps though, I have to say, but this is really awesome. I think the concept is great. Now it starts even raining. I cannot give this map enough praise. This is also one of my absolutely favorite maps here in this map pack. It's just, this section was a little bit awkward. I wasn't really sure at first what to do, but it works quite well once you figure it out. And yeah, the difficulty level I would say is about a 6 out of 10. So it's not too hard, but it's a little bit challenging. It's definitely not a short map. Next we have awkward. It wasn't as awkward as the map, the name suggests, but yeah, it's a relatively difficult map. Needs some air control here and some good timing on your falls. And needless to say that I fucked this up quite a lot in the beginning. And this is also nice with hitting the prism through the wall. In the end is relatively straightforward. So also visually very unique as far as I can tell. Difficulty rating, I would say 7.5 out of 10. Definitely one of the harder maps. I would not recommend doing this as the first one. Unless you know what you're doing, which... yeah. There are a lot of people that know what they're doing, basically. Okay, Blinky's Basement. This is just from the... judging from the time, this is also one of the longer ones. Ah, this was this one. This is an interesting one because I think at least that you can change the route or the order in which you do the things. At least that's what I would assume. I have really not tested it. I personally don't enjoy maps as much that are non-linear, and I would assume this is non-linear, but I just always did this route because for reasons. There's no particular reason why that I've done it this way, but that's the way I did it. So yeah, now there is this left section. This is has other kind of dust on the floor. This is a little big house, and I nearly dropped the combo there. It's not. Like, the gameplay is not super hard, but it's also not super easy, I would say. So it's I would say about an average difficulty level. I gave it a 5.5 out of 10. So I hope I don't forget to actually show the difficulty ratings as an overlay in the video. The blueprint, this is another very interesting map. Visually quite unique, I would say, from what I've seen, and it can be a little bit intimidating maybe at first because of all the spikes, but it's actually a pretty easy level, I would say. At least I didn't have much trouble, but I also went backwards, so I did the later levels first, more or less. I haven't played it in order, but that's just more or less what I've done. So this is a 4 out of 10 on the difficulty scale. Great map. Really enjoyed this one too. Okay, now we get to a very difficult map. I had quite some troubles here. It has quite unique gameplay elements, I would say. Or at least the combination of it is quite interesting. Some crazy boosts here, and also quite a lot of fall timing, small timing sections like this is I think I had a lot of issues with this section. This one cost a lot of runs. Keep in mind that it has been actually quite a while since I played this. It took me a while now to start the review process. But yeah, I think this one is pretty hard. I would give this an 8.5 out of 10, but it's very well done, this map as well. I really enjoyed this. Grinding was a lot of fun, even though it took me quite a while. Next we have Cascade, and from one of the harder maps we go now to one of the easiest maps. This is very straightforward, and this is also one of the maps that I actually bothered grinding a little bit of a better time. Not too much time, but at least, as you can see, it's at least not slow as a snail. Yeah, overall as well, a great map, great visual design, very easy map. I would say this is a 2 out of 10 on the difficulty scale, and yeah, but I really enjoyed it. It's fantastic. Nothing more to say. And next up we have Centipede. This is also a little bit of a harder map. It looks, I think, harder at first than it actually plays. I think the flow is very well designed. This was a little bit awkward first, but it's overall not too hard once you've figured out what to do. And some fighting passages. Yeah, it's. I think it looks harder than it is, at least for me. I would definitely by no means call this an easy level, but I don't think it's as hard as Box City, the other ones first. I would give this a 7 out of 10. Next up, we have Chambers. This is another one where I wasn't really sure where to go first, but it plays quite well. I think there is a lot of potential here to also go quite fast, I would assume. I haven't, or at least I can't remember whether I have watched a replay of someone who is actually much better than me. But yeah, it's otherwise relatively straightforward. This is as easy as it can get, I would think so. So yeah, just a couple of rooms with some dust in it. It's one of the more simplistic maps as well, I would say. So next up we have a Chocolate Sundae, and I have actually tried to do this a little bit faster, but I completely failed. And it has some very weird shapes in it, and it just didn't flow with me for some reason. I have not really grasped this level, and I think there is another one coming up shortly which basically is the same, but I think its level design is done very well generally. It's just I didn't have really the mechanical skills to do this any more faster. So, Cliffside Climb. I think this is another one that I really loved. Yes, this is great. It's also very fluid. I think if I would have spent a little bit more time on this one, I think it would look even more fluid. I think this is it's great from a level design standpoint. I think it flows really well. The enemy placement was very good. Really nothing that is below average. Everything is just done very well. This section was a little bit awkward first because I didn't really understood it, but I think this would also look a little bit more fluid if I would play it again. And I think this is probably a map that I will revisit. Overall, like, really good map. Difficulty wise, this is, let me check, 5.5 I gave this. So it's another one of those middle in the pack levels. This is an interesting one. This is quite unique in that it's very claustrophobic, and I personally don't really enjoy the close spaces here, but it flows quite well nonetheless, and actually much better than I first thought. So kudos to the designer. So I actually quite enjoy this, despite that I first didn't really got this close design. Difficulty, I think this one was a little bit harder. Next up we have Contrast. This one also has a very unique visual style. So this jump was a little bit awkward for me. I would have assumed that it would get you to a higher height, and but aside from that, it flows really well. I think this is another one of these very excellent levels. It has great gameplay. I have here a little drop, and this one was also quite challenging to actually figure out sometimes what needs to be done. And in the end there is this apple juggling challenge. It's actually not that difficult. I have never done this before this community map pack, and it surprisingly wasn't too hard. So, but it may be harder for other people. I would say this is around a 7.5 of in difficulty. So next up, Cookie Cut. This is another map that I absolutely love. It just flows really well. It looks very intimidating at first, but it's actually not that hard, and just has the angles are great. It has very interesting placements for the prisms and also for the dust. And yeah, it's just it flows really well. It's great. So, and it's also quite a short one, so I think that also helps a lot. I would say this is around a 7 difficulty. I hope I don't forget to show the difficulty as an overlay. Next up, otherwise I will probably just put it in the description. Next up we have Crème Brûlée. At least I hope that I pronounce it correctly. Probably not. Alright, this was another awkward map. Prism placements were very hard for me to hit. I think this is a great map to go fast. I just couldn't because I'm too bad. But like I just didn't understood how to hit the prisms while maintaining my speed. It just never worked for me, but I think this could be a very fun map to grind out. Also very cool color palette. And at the end, overall, I would say if you don't try to go fast, this isn't too bad. So I gave this a 6 out of 10 on the difficulty scale. Next up, Crystal Cave. Another absolutely great map. This one I actually grasped for once, so yeah. I think the prism placement's great. Have some nice varied sections here. It's a little bit of everything. It just, even going slow, it flows really well. This one was a little bit challenging to figure out what to do, and yeah, I think this is also, I think most of the maps here are, I would assume, also designed with going fast in mind. At least that's the impression I got out of it. So, continuing. Overall, probably looks harder as well than it actually is. Cyberspace. So this starts out relatively stock here, and then it completely changes its visuals. It's also I absolutely love these visuals. Just transport this cyberspace theme very well. Great gameplay as well. Although I struggled a little bit sometimes to actually see the dust. Personally not too big of a fan when the dust is the same color as its surroundings, but this is a very short map as well. great. Love it. You will hear that a lot in this review. Next, debugging. This is one of the really hard ones. It's actually quite short, but I have huge troubles, especially with this section here, to not bump my head into any spikes. It looks here actually much easier than it is. We have a little bit of a giga wall section there. Some small platformings. I think the level plays great though. Like it's really difficult, but the level plays absolutely great, except for this last part where you have to get away from the wall a little bit and then fall down. This was a little bit awkward, and it took me actually quite a while to understand what I was supposed to do there. But yeah, it's this is one of the really hard maps of the map pack. So I'd say 9.5 out of 10. I struggled a lot with this one. Next we have Desert Dungeon, also very unique visually. Also gameplay wise, I think I've never really done anything like this before. This was a little bit awkward because you have to go back, and I was struggling here to keep my momentum, but it worked out anyway. Here you have to do some keep your momentum while wall jumping. I didn't find it too difficult, but I can see how this may be very challenging for others. And it's overall also, like, I would say average length. I think it took me 43 seconds, and you see other people can do it much faster. But next one, Dust Chambers. This is one of the very hardest levels in the game. Don't do this first unless you want the real challenge. This took me quite a long time to actually get the SS. The gameplay is actually also very varied. And here we have another giga wall section. Lots of air control. Most floors are littered with spikes. Also quite a long level. But like, I don't understand how this map makers does it, or like most of the map makers here in this map pack do it, that the whole level flows very well. It plays like a coherent level, but the gameplay is not repeating itself. This is blowing my mind. I love this map despite that it was really hard. I think it's, yeah, just fantastic. I can't find other words. Next we have Dust Shells. Little bit themed similarly like the previous map, but gameplay is completely different. It's also much easier. Actually, I think this is one of the easier maps. It didn't quite flow that well for me. Not sure whether this is because the level just flows not very well, but I suspect more that it's just me being derpy, if you want. So yeah, but I also really enjoyed this one. Great map, not too difficult. Equidream. The next three maps are a set of single screen maps, I think they're called, and they all play very differently. This is also great visuals. I love this haunted theme in the virtual space. It's great. Gameplay, I didn't really fully understood it, but also didn't have to because the level is relatively easy. So there's that. So it gets a little bit harder now with the next one, Equi-Free. This is great. I think you can go. I think it's symmetrical. I think you can go both ways, and it plays pretty much the same. So I just went the direction that I'm more comfortable with, and yeah, just also single screen map, but done really, really well. I think there are also a lot of different routes you can take. And this one, like those single screen maps are generally really short. And this one is definitely by far the hardest. You have some nasty prisms in the middle that I just completely haven't seen first. And this is actually really, really hard. It looks much easier, I think, than it is. I struggled a lot with this level. And but it plays great. I think once I got the grasp of it, like, it played great. Next we have Falling Star. Another virtual level. This one is a little bit minimal in terms of the visual style. Just background with white stuff. And I don't really like falling that much, so I didn't enjoy this too much. And there is also this part coming up here where it's totally easy to just not kill the dust blocks while falling, but rather just bump in a wall. It happened countless times to me. This was a little bit frustrating, I have to say, to actually grind. And next one we have Final Mental Interface, and oh boy, this actually gave me a lot of mental struggles. I didn't understood how this works, and I think this is the intention of the mod maker. I didn't really enjoy this. I think it played very awkward for me. I just fucked with my mind quite a lot, but I think it's really unique, and I can appreciate it for that. But I was actually glad when it was over, so I didn't really enjoy this one as much. But yeah, but I can really appreciate that this is extremely unique. Difficulty, I would say about a little bit about average. I gave it a 6.5. I will not iterate on the numbers too much anymore, because hopefully you should see it on screen. Next up, Forgotten. This is also a map that I think likes to be played fast, and I think you need quite some dashing skills to actually the Zeta skills are quite prevalent in this map. It's quite a short map. Took me only 22 seconds, so not too difficult if you know how to do the tech. Next up, Forlorn. I have no idea what this map is actually. I can't remember it. Oh yes, this is a very archive-like map. At least I got these vibes from it. The gameplay is very similar in a lot of cases, but also a lot different in other cases. I think the map maker did quite a good job in actually. Here we have also some elements of library mixed into it, and it's not, I wouldn't say this is quite a unique map, but I think the combination of the elements that have been included in this map are very well done, and I really enjoyed doing this map. I think this could as well, very well as well be a stock map. There's just really flows and remind me a lot about some stock mentioned maps. All right, next one, fragmentation. This is one of the levels that I really don't like. It's just a little bit more than a one-screen map. Pretty much all you have to do you can see here. But it's just like the shapes of the objects are very awkward, and I didn't understood this map. But to be fair, I also didn't put much time into it, so maybe if you do that, then it will flow a lot better and be a lot less awkward than what it was for me. It's very interesting from a visual standpoint. I like it quite a lot in that regard, like an abstract art painting. But it just, gameplay wise, it just didn't really flow with me too much. And last but not least, in the alpha section we have GMO2. This is another one of the really hard levels, and took me a while to figure out how it works. We have some giga sections here, so I would not recommend this unless you're at least quite proficient with the difficulty levels. But it also has like, it plays also quite uniquely, I thought. So yeah, it was I actually really enjoyed this level as well. It's even though it is very hard, but at least it's quite short. I think that's a lot of these really hard maps are quite short. There are a couple of exceptions we will see later on, but that was it for this video. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you stay tuned for the next two parts. So this was the alpha section. We are about 1/3 of the way, and as you can see, we already had a ton of levels. But yeah, it was great so far. Pretty much most of the maps were absolutely amazing to play, and I'm actually quite sad that I've already done them all. But I think there are much more custom maps on Nexus. I'll probably browse through those a little bit. Thanks for watching. Hope you see you next time. Bye bye.